Welcome to Marketing Ecosystem Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rushana Husainova, Senior Lecturer in Marketing and Marketing Skills Expert. Here we're discussing all things marketing with a special focus on sustainable and regenerative marketing, artificial intelligence, AI, and marketing skills. Let's do this. Hello, friends. Very warm welcome to episode 1 of Marketing Ecosystem. My name is Rushana, Dr. Rushana Husainova. I'm your host. And today we're talking about marketing paradoxes. My own journey with marketing, I should say professional journey with marketing, started back in many years ago now. So I did my undergraduate degree. I applied for economics. I got in. I started studying economics. And halfway through, I realized that actually I'm kind of missing some sort of creative spark or the communicating part of it, the promotion part of it. And I felt like I really want to be in marketing somehow. So I applied and I got transferred to marketing. I had to sit a few extra units, modules and exams. It was allowed back then in my university. And so I moved to marketing. And when I did my bachelor's degree, the degree was 4 years long. The first 2 years I studied economics, and year 3 and year 4, I went into marketing. I was absolutely amazed. It was such a happy time. I was in my field. It was my thing, my cup of tea, so to speak. There was some room for creativity, yet there was a room for information-based decision-making. And it was really all very interesting and inspiring. And you were able to create campaigns and communicate this to potential consumers. And there was lots of presentations and video recordings and so on and so forth. I then came to the UK to do my master's, and I realized that there is a lot of international flavor to marketing, and I've learned how marketing is done in other places. And there is such a term called glocalization, which is a marriage between, or a mix rather, between globalization, which is when companies go global and they take their offering to different countries, the way it is, and a mixture of that with local, where their global offerings are tailored to local tastes. So, for example, if you go to France and if you go to, say, McDonald's, then their menu will have slight alterations to fit more with French culture, or at least they aim to do that. Okay. And if you go to McDonald's in India, there will be no beef burgers. There'll be alternative of other kinds and varieties, and mainly vegetarian options, I presume. Although I've never been to India yet. So then I went to the industry and I worked there for a bit. And I've learned that in some places, marketing is seen as, just that thing to write a copy for the website and create posters and t-shirts. That really, really bugged me. And although I tried to impact and influence and change the trajectory of belief in marketing in that organization, it just didn't work for me. So I've left that place thinking, marketing isn't that important. It is about writing copies for the website and selling things. And I really want to do something more meaningful. At that point, I went to do my PhD. And because I wanted to work with a particular professor, Professor John Rudd, who was at Aston University at the time, he said, my research interests currently lie in sales. So I ended up doing a PhD in sales. And during that time, I realized even if you have the most world-saving, amazing idea, if you created a cure for cancer, let's say, if you don't talk about it, if you don't spread the word, people will not know and you will not be able to cure the world, right? And I regained belief in how marketing is a force for good and it's so important. Yes, it can be used unethically, and we've seen plenty of examples how people are forced to buy things, how companies sometimes used to make false claims. But of course, that still happens probably some companies in some places, although the world is a lot more transparent these days. Marketing could be used unethically, but marketing is absolutely could and should and is being used as a force for good to communicate important, life-changing, impactful value for people and the planet. With that in mind, though, I wanted to talk to you about paradoxes in marketing. And this kind of sets the scene for these paradoxes, right? Because on the one hand, marketing is tasked with acquiring customers and keeping the customers on board, keeping them loyal, keeping them coming back with repeat purchase. Yet at the same time, it should reduce consumerism. It should educate consumers about the bad things that happen when we spend too much, when we waste too much, when we don't reduce, when we don't recycle, and so on and so forth. And I think this is the biggest and most fundamental paradox of marketing. How do you juggle that balance when, on the one hand, you're supposed to bring in sales and make company profitable, whereas on the other hand, you're expected to educate customers to be really environmentally conscious consumers? So how do we solve that paradox? The first and probably the biggest example that comes to my mind is a company called Patagonia. Their marketing, they're aiming at as regenerative marketing, is really like a philosophy for the company. And it's seen in everything, in how they create their products, which are really high quality. There's a transparency in where the material is coming from, where things are manufactured, etc. In how it's communicated. For example, there is a campaign, "Don't buy this jacket." I mean, the campaign itself is, of course, quite an interesting example of marketing paradox, right? Because after all, Patagonia is still a business that makes profit. And I really wanted to continue making profit while spreading this environmental message, right? And at the same time, they also encourage consumers and their customers to bring their items, clothing, for example, back to them for repair or even resale. Now, this idea of resale isn't new and isn't just Patagonia. Recently, we've seen Zara piloting the same thing and a few other brands as well. So do look around and pay attention to what big companies especially are trying to do these days, right? How they're trying to encourage consumers and their customers to maybe resell or maybe to repatch and, solve problems with their existing garments and products, right? Recent example is H&M. If you add 2 items of the same clothing but different sizes, they give you a little error message, not error, but a warning message to say that actually ordering multiple sizes, which means that you'll then be returning some of these items back to us, has environmental impact. So consider just consulting this size chart and not ordering multiple items. But these practices still exist. And this is a paradox of marketing, which has to find a balance between creating high quality products so that consumers don't have to put them in a bin or put them into recycling and then buy again and again and again, yet at the same time remaining profitable. So another example I just touched upon at the start, which is local versus global. And the problem with that is if we're all encouraged to buy local things. And I like to go to a local farmers market that happens, once a month on a Sunday. And it's beautiful. People there, the farmers who bring their own produce. They are fantastic, amazing, hardworking people who work out earth to grow the food for the nation. Really for the nations worldwide, they're farmers worldwide, right? Unfortunately, the prices for these beautifully grown vegetables, often organically grown vegetables as well, they're very, very high. And so often it's cheaper to go to a big supermarket chain, and it's just easier as well to buy things from there. So that's another paradox of marketing. How do you make it work? How do you promote local produce, but make it kind of more affordable for people? And that, I realized, taps into a whole complex question of supply chains and how suppliers and buyers in this instance is supermarket chains, how they dictate prices that aren't always fair to farmers and so on and so forth. But from marketing point of view, in this example, this is kind of one of the paradoxes. And the final paradox I wanted to bring in here, actually 2 paradoxes. One is how, as consumers, we want a constant personalization. when you search for something, you want the offering to be perfect for you. We want it to be personalized to our tastes and preferences and ideas and beliefs. I would consider myself as a conscious environmental consumer, and I wouldn't want a supermarket offering me things in plastic packaging. I observed recently Waitrose has done a lot of amazing work in removing a lot of plastic from, let's say, their pastry section. And I really salute that. Yet at the same time, we don't want to share a lot of our customer data, right? Privacy is still a big concern. And although I'm a marketer myself, when I go online, I usually disable cookies. I reject non-essential cookies because I don't want all the websites in the world. I mean, not, of course, on the websites in the world, but I don't want websites I visit to know my preferences and my consumer journey and what I search for. Because the minute you start searching for, let's say cat beds, for example, or some products for cats. I know a friend of mine just recently got a cat. All of a sudden, everywhere you look, your Gmail, your Outlook accounts, your Facebook or social media accounts will be sending you adverts for cats. Okay. So that's a third paradox. And a final one I wanted to share with you is something that we came to as a part of a discussion on one of my modules I teach on principles of marketing as well, actually. And one of the students said, well, if we were to have a choice and full information and freedom and not limited in money and with our income, wouldn't we all go for organic and bio products, as they're called on continental Europe? Wouldn't we all select this, beautifully grown, chemical-free organic products? And that came at a time where the prices all of a sudden went up, and I noticed a whole organic chicken costed something like £25 in an average supermarket. I was so shocked, honestly. And then I thought, some customers choose this blissful ignorance because in reality, even if they know that it's so much better to order happy chickens who were free roaming and eating organic food, they just couldn't afford it. So if we all could afford happy chickens, metaphorically speaking, wouldn't we all go for it? Okay, well, with that in mind, there are the 4 paradoxes, and there are a lot more paradoxes. There are loads of publications around this. If you're interested, do read into this. But for now, let me know what you think. Thanks for listening, and bye-bye, and see you next time. Recent study titled "Do More Likes Lead to More Clicks? Evidence from a Field Experiment on Social Advertising," published in Journal of Marketing, examined whether the number of likes on social media ads influenced user engagement, and they looked specifically at number of clicks. The study found that while more likes increased the perceived popularity of an ad, which kind of makes sense, this didn't always translate for more clicks. That's interesting, isn't it? In some cases, a high number of likes led to something called crowding out effect, where users felt less compelled to engage further, possibly assuming that the ad didn't need additional support. I can certainly relate. Whenever I see a message, someone's asking for advice on social media, and I see already like 20 people answered that question, then I may think, well, actually, what can my extra answer add if it's already been answered? Very interesting study. That's it for today. Thanks for listening to Marketing Ecosystem. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Have a think about 3 things that you found particularly useful or interesting, and share them with other marketing enthusiasts. Until next time, bye-bye.